Hi, my name is Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss how Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, is facing fresh pressure to at least apologise for the dangerous rhetoric that she has been using against particularly human rights lawyers, especially in light of the fact that she may well have committed a serious criminal offence in doing so. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, a number of weeks ago, during the Dead Cat episode of using refugees to distract from government COVID and Brexit failures, Priti Patel attacked what she called activist lawyers. She was suggesting that her attempts to deport refugees was down to them. In reality, of course, it was down to the laws of the land. Lawyers do not decide the laws, they merely argue points of it. Similarly, judges determine what the law demands. It is Parliament that determines what those laws are. But in attacking lawyers and then stepping up her rhetoric during the Conservative Party conference, along with Boris Johnson, by also attacking people who do good, they raised the issue to a higher profile around the country. Now, people representing the legal profession, including the Bar Council, which represents barristers in the UK, took the Home Secretary and the Prime Minister to task over this. We've seen the impacts that dangerous, divisive and inaccurate rhetoric, populist rhetoric, has. People are violently attacked as a result of it, particularly when government ministers engage in it. It is a green light to nutters. You know, people have been killed as a result of this sort of behaviour. And that we knew in theory. When she was making her statements, the legal profession were going, this is dangerous. What you are doing here is dangerous. Will you stop it? Then the situation took a more sinister turn. So last week I found out that it transpired that the Home Secretary had some warning of this, specific warning. Patel had been involved in an intelligence briefing in mid-September. This is quite normal, of course. She's the Home Secretary. But this particular briefing, she was being told about a far-right extremist who had attempted to carry out attacks on a solicitor's office in London. She knew the dangerous anti-lawyer rhetoric, consequences. She knew that she was putting members of the legal profession in jeopardy. She'd been told that. She'd been warned about that by counter-terrorism officers. Then a few weeks later, she gave her conference speech attacking lefty lawyers and do-gooders. Now, given that Patel had been warned about the impact her words have already had and could have in the future, to have then continued using them means she doesn't get to claim ignorance. She even ramped them up. She dialed it up a notch. So not only was she calling them now activist lawyers, she was calling them lefty lawyers. And this could be construed as a criminal offence because it could be argued she's effectively encouraging violent attacks on lawyers in the full knowledge that she's doing this, because she's been told by counter-terrorism officers that this is the likely consequence of her actions. And whether or not she has committed a criminal offence, let's face facts, she's never going to be in court to face these charges. In continuing this rhetoric, law officers in her government are certainly concerned. So the Lord Chancellor, Robert Buckland QC, has warned Patel that her rhetoric was believed to have been responsible for an attack that nearly killed a solicitor. Now, Robert Buckland has lost a lot of credibility by remaining in Boris Johnson's law-breaking cabinet this year. But he does nonetheless have boundaries. He refused, for example, to defend Dominic Cummings in his Barnard Castle fiasco. When the whole cabinet was ordered to do this, he refused. But Suella Braverman, the Attorney General, and officially the legal advisor to the government in cabinet, was only too pleased to trash her legal reputation by defending Cummings. But even she could not defend Patel. She also warned the Home Secretary to knock it off. That's how serious the situation was. When Braverman, the Attorney General appointed by Boris Johnson, specifically to trash our legal institutions, that's what she was brought in for. When she is for once defending the rule of law, you know the government have gone too far. But the Home Secretary completely ignored them and carried on anyway. Now, given that Boris Johnson not only allowed Patel to make that hate-inspiring speech at the party conference a few weeks ago, but he even adopted a similar lines himself. He echoed it himself. And as a result, he was asked by journalists what he knew of the Patel-inspired attack on a solicitor in September. He has so far refused to answer that question. Now, what I would say is this. Both the Lord Chancellor and the Attorney General, senior members of the government, formally warned the Home Secretary about her behaviour. It seems inconceivable to me that they would have done that and not brought the Prime Minister into the loop. So I am quite certain that whether he knew or not about the sequence of events when Patel did, he would have known before the party conference. That seems clear. Very, very clear. It has to be. They would not have. You won't get two law officers coordinating in this way to warn an extremely senior member of the government and keep the Prime Minister out of the loop. Don't buy that at all. But neither the Home Secretary nor the Prime Minister have apologised for their behaviour, nor have they even just quietly brought it to an end. We know they don't apologise. That's actually, ironically, what caused the Barnard Castle affair. They don't apologise, but they haven't even just quietly knocked it off. So hundreds of senior members of the legal profession, including former Supreme Court justices, have written a coordinated letter to spell out to the public. It was a letter written in The Guardian to spell out the way in which Johnson and Patel have endangered the lives of members of their profession and undermined the rule of law. So part of the letter reads, "We are all deeply concerned at the recent attacks made by the Home Secretary and echoed by the Prime Minister on lawyers seeking to hold the government to the law. Such attacks endanger not only the personal safety of lawyers and others working for the justice system, as has recently been vividly seen," again referring to that attack, "they undermine the rule of law, which ministers and lawyers alike are duty-bound to uphold." I don't think we should hold our breath waiting for an apology. They don't happen. And I really don't think we should even expect to see them stop using this language, no matter what happens. After all, the same populists who created the environment under which Joe Cox was murdered did not stop after the event, did they? They didn't rein that back. It continued completely unabated and continues to this day, and if anything else, is worse today than it was a few years ago. But it is yet another reminder of just how very much on the path to dictatorship we are, whilst the government uses language and techniques like this. You know, attack journalists, attack judges, attack lawyers, attack absolutely anyone who calls you out on anything as being politically motivated. Hence the term lefty lawyers. You know, the suggestion is that it's all politically motivated, and you do this in order to set yourself up above the law. And they don't care who they hurt with these vindictive acts. They don't care how much damage is done, how much trust is lost in our legal system. We might imagine that if someone is killed as a direct result of this rhetoric, that it would cause them to pause for thought. It won't. It won't. Their political survival depends absolutely on their being able to adopt the populist playbook. Whenever people might be wondering why they're making such a mess of running the country, bring it out. Ramp up this rhetoric. Distract people. I'm guessing Priti Patel isn't totally opposed to using lawyers herself. Remember, she is facing legal action in terms of bullying claims against her. And if you're wondering what her next act of callous disregard for human life is going to be, so it's going to be the privatisation of the care of the most vulnerable. Her department is set to offer contracts to private organisations in order to deport asylum seekers. Ticks a lot of boxes for the Conservatives. So it allows them to waste public money on something that would be cheaper and more effectively done in-house, if it needs to be done at all. You know, check. There we go. It allows them to keep the dead cat in the news to distract them from all the other terrible things that they're doing. Big boost to them there. And also, when those companies break the law, because an awful lot of the people they want them to deport, no legal right to do so, they get to blame someone else when it all goes tits up. Oh, it wasn't our fault, it was that company's fault. Do you know, like they did with care homes with COVID? Or like they do with any private company ultimately. When blame is undeniable, They'll just blame the private company that they used. But there it is. Those are my thoughts anyway. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.